Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal, thank you very much.
The bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house. I only have two things on my mind. Paul Newman and a ride home.
Around there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat.
1991. Dear friend, I'm writing to you because she said you listen and understand and didn't try to sleep with that person at that party, even though you could have. Please don't try to figure out who she is, because then you might figure out who I am, and I really don't want you to do that.
Gandalf stirred, and he turned, looking back north, where the skies were pale and clear. Then he lifted up his hands and cried in a loud voice, ringing above the din, "The eagles are coming!" And many voices answered, crying, "The eagles are coming! The eagles are coming!"
Professor Umbridge? Yes, said Harry. You called her a liar? Yes. You told her he who must not be named is back? Yes. Professor McGonagall sat down behind her desk, frowning at Harry. Then she said, "Have a biscuit, Potter."
Until 7 times the years in which he tormented us have passed, we shall not tire of watching.
I don't understand how a child with parents as brilliant as yours are supposed to be and can have such a poor student. If you don't manage to do a little better, you'll have to stay back next year.
While the storm lasted, watching its progress with curiosity and delight. As I stood at the door, on a sudden I beheld a stream of fire issue from an old and beautiful oak, which stood about 20 yards from our house. And so soon as the dazzling light vanished, the oak had disappeared, and nothing remained but a blasted stump.
Where you drink the tea of the breasts of the spinsters of Utica. I'm with you in Rockland, where you pun on the bodies of your nurses, the harpies of the Bronx. I'm with you in Rockland, where you scream in a straitjacket that you're losing the game of the actual ping pong of the abyss.
Things I could tell them, things I wish they would change, but they don't want to change. Life here is so orderly, so predictable, so painless. It's what they've chosen.
Edward in the sunlight was shocking. I couldn't get used to it, though I'd been staring
In the
at
back
him all
of a
that.
brown paper bag, he tried another poem, and he called it Absolutely Nothing, because that's what it was really all about. And he gave himself an A and a slash on each damned wrist, and he hung it on the bathroom door, because this time he didn't think he could reach the kitchen.
I love with you, and I'm not in the business of denying myself the simple pleasure of saying true things.
Larry concocted a dozen plans and dismissed them impatiently, for they all boiled down to stowing away. And how could you stow away on a narrow boat? To be sure, the real voyage would involve a proper ship, and she knew enough stories to expect all kinds of hiding places on a full.
My cousin Jasper had told me that it was normal to spend one's year shaking off the friends of one's first, and it happened as he said. Most of my friends were those I had made through Sebastian. Together we shed them and made no others.
People say that winter lasts forever, but it's because they obsess over the thermometer.
Presents his compliments to Professor Snape and begs him to keep his abnormally large nose out of other people's business. Snape froze. Harry stared, dumbstruck at the message. But the map didn't stop there. More writing was
Do
appearing.
not worry. Though I said absurd just now, I did not mean it. I think well of you, and of the others. It is no small feat to have come so far, and through such dangers still bearing the ring.
It's my fox hat. Your fox hat? Yeah, Pudge, my fox hat. Why are you wearing your fox hat, I asked. Because no one can catch the motherfucking fox.
Gone by. That could be accounted for by shock and anger, by checking what everyone else thought to be valuables, his cufflinks, his cash, his tools. But he knew no more time than could be overlooked. He had to call the police. He worked himself up. He paced briefly, drew his breath in and out rapidly, and when the operator answered, his set voice on edge. My home has been broken into. I need the police.
But are old enough to read. We, I quip-quoted, medieval mariners have placed in this bottle. If, she repeated, you don't have a pencil, but are old enough to read and write, this is what the guy means. Isn't it, you dope? Scratch the number somehow on the roadside. With your little claws, Lolita.
If he hadn't been so frightened, he could have made the line disappear. Or he could have wished himself safe at home with his father and mother. He could have wished for a lion to turn into a butterfly, or a daisy, or a gnat. He could have wished the many things, but he panicked, and he couldn't think carefully. I wish I were a rock, he said, and he became a
Before
rock.
Tito and Pedro knew it, along with John and Chencha, they were the only ones left on the ranch. Everyone else, including the ranch hands, were making mad, passionate love wherever they happened to end up. Some under the bridge between Piedras Negras and Eagle Pass, The more conservative in their cars hastily pulled over to the side of the road, the rest wherever they could. Any spot would do.
That she was only matter. The rest of her must be recycled too. I believe now that we are greater than the sum of our parts. If you take Alaska's genetic code and you add her life experiences and the relationships she had with people, and then you take the size and shape of her body, you do not get her. There's something else entirely. There's a part of her greater than the sum of her knowable parts. And that part has to go somewhere because it cannot be destroyed. This does end up being my last letter. Please believe that things are good with me. And even if they're not, they will be.
Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.